What I'm saying to the House tonight is there's two sides to this. There's two sides to this. Of course, I'm appalled by what happens to victims. I have dealt with the victims, and we have brought these victims in with us as we've proceeded with our restorative justice programs. We have told our people how they have abused and violated these people's lives. Our aroha is with them, absolutely. But we don't give up on our people who have inflicted the damage. It goes both ways. And National, whether the other side like it or not, have played a major part in that too, and have been part of the strategies in terms of trying to redeem people. Bill English and others have played a part in terms of seeing both sides. It cannot just be a put them in jail and throw the key away strategy. It cannot be. It has to work on both sides. It has to be work on both sides. And you cannot, I say tonight, you cannot keep ignoring. Why are we ignoring people like Justice Joe Williams? I asked Tama Pōtaka that. We're talking about some of the best legal people in the business. Justice Joe Williams is the pride of Te Ao Māori. He's saying this type of strategy should not be put in place, because in the end, Māori will be affected hugely by this type of strategy. And Willow Jean Prime talked about the New Zealand Law Society, Māori Law Society, New Zealand Bar Association. All of them are saying that we need to tread carefully here. I asked the opposition to consider this, because rather than us getting into this level of insults, which we'll probably get into anyway eventually, we'll probably get into, let's try and look at this seriously and maturely, that we've got communities who are suffering. We've got our experts like Joe Williams, like Kim Workman, like my mother, who was honoured by the national government, who have said this is not just about our people who have been the victims. The victims are on both sides. The victims are on both sides. And the easy way out is just to go, we'll have a hard and fast act type policy. That hard and fast act type policy was never the National Party policy. But it has become now. It was never. You can look back on your own books. Simon Power was holding gang conferences here, for goodness sake. I attended gang conferences here run by the former Justice Minister. They weren't called gang conferences. I'm going overboard a bit there. But people like that doesn't sound like me. But Simon, you had people like Simon Power. You had people like Bill English, who was our man from Wanganui. Chester Burrows. These are good people. You lot are a disgrace to their name. I knew I'd get to that. I knew I'd get to that. But you had good. They would hang their heads in shame looking at you lot over there. And these are good national people who believed in a strategy. And you lot have been duped by this useless right-wing fascist group over here, the ACT Party. You lot have been duped by them. And I say tonight, Mr. Miga, you showed so much promise in that maiden speech, but you're going to the pack every other time you stand up. You're disappointing us. The journalists might have to have a rethink in terms of your future, because clearly you're on the wrong track. So I say tonight, wake up. There are two sides to this. And it's not about just locking people up and throwing the key away. It's not about, no, that is what you want to do. That's what's going to happen when you take the funding away. And I want to honour and mihi to Marama Davidson, who set up the framework, who set up the strategy. And I've got to say to these Māori members, in particular James over there, and my good friend Tama Pōtaka, wake up and start standing up for your people, because at the moment you're disappointing us.
Members, the government has indicated to me that it does not wish to continue in urgency. Therefore, this debate is interrupted and is set down for resumption next sitting day. The House stands adjourned until 2 p.m. tomorrow.
Within the operations of our justice system.
James Meagher.
I'm glad that members opposite have finally woken up to the idea of the fact that things cost. They talk about cost, and they've finally woken up to the impact of costs on our most vulnerable. And if they're really, really concerned about the costs of these reports, why haven't they gone out and asked Harry Tam for his template and offered to do it for free? Because that's what they're actually saying here. They're saying that when you remove legal aid funding, that no one will be able to access this unless they are super rich or super powerful. Well, where are the members opposite's compassion and advocacy for those vulnerable if they're requiring them to pay for the reports and they have no system at all to pay for it? Now, Madam Speaker, I noted with interest that in the previous contributions, the former Minister Penny Henare lifted up the RIS. And he said, I'm not sure whether he said it was unprecedented or whether it was unusual, but he said that RISs don't come redacted, and it's very, very unusual to see those come to the House redacted. So I got on the Google machine and I took some advice from young Tom Rutherford, and I did some Googling. And the very first thing that came up was a document called Interim Regulatory Impact Statement Establishing the Inspector General of Defence. And towards the end of the page, I just want to hold up this sheet for everyone, was quite a large redacted document. And the document stated 2021, and of course the Minister of Defence at the time was the Honourable Penny Henare. So, Madam Speaker, this is a good bill by a good minister. I commend it to the House.
Honourable Willie Jackson.
Mr. Meagher. Oh, you've got the future of Māori in your hands.
Absolutely needs to be objected by this party. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Ricardo Mendes-March.
The study being today to recognise that the government is continuing to push forward the agenda of mass incarceration, a colonial agenda that has just resulted in more violence, more Indigenous people being incarcerated, and one that is unfortunately a global colonial project. What this bill aims to do in terms of removing legal aid for the creation of cultural reports will Section 27 reports, will cause harm to the communities who have been failed by successive governments in a broken justice system. And we were very critical in the last government around the failure to address issues around mass incarceration. And it's interesting that the member opposite to me jeering about the past government fails to recognise their own complicity and, while in opposition, actually just calling for more harm for the communities that actually are served by these reports. So, it's really important that we contextualise actually what these reports were for. And I'd like to quote Dean of Law at AUT, Professor Kylie Quince, who talked about how cultural reports are not just about reducing sentences, but also